Good afternoon, friends. My name is Catherine Johnston, and I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator at Path Employment Services. I want to welcome you today to our Let's Talk Career series. Path hosts these interviews to have conversations with folks in industries and jobs and careers, just to give a little bit of understanding for anyone out there who is just starting out their career and not sure what path they want to take, or maybe somebody wants to change their career and get into something else. So it gives a personal perspective from individuals that are working in certain industries to learn their personal journey and maybe give some insight into someone who's thinking about changing their career or getting into a new career. I want to welcome our host today, Roberta Prince. Hi, Roberta.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I see you have a nice sunny background there. Hope the weather is making you feel good today.
Yes, it does feel good to have some mild weather.
Yeah, yeah. Hope. I mean, it'd be nice for a little bit more snow. We have an ice rink in the back, so I'm hoping maybe it gets a little bit cooler for all the skaters out there to enjoy.
Oh, yes, it'd be nice to get out in the fresh air.
Absolutely. So I guess we'll start today, Roberta, and just ask you about your very first job, or the first job you want to talk about anyway.
Well, the first job I had was a corner store clerk, and it was a short-lived job because the boss was just not someone I wanted to work for. So, but it gave me my first opportunity to work with the public,
Mhm.
and it was interesting for this short period of time, but I moved on from that, and so that was my first job. Yeah,
I guess starting putting you on a path that this is not the job I want to do for the rest of my life, kind of thing.
or work with that kind of a person.
Yeah. Yeah, we've all had those, right?
hmm
So did the job influence your path to go somewhere else? Like, where did you go from there? Did
Uh,
you
Actually, I just ventured on to work at a door to door for a medical company that would sell chips that would be inserted into people's arms
mm,
with all their medical history on it. I don't think that went very big. I thought it was not a bad idea.
mhm,
Animals have it done. So, the intention was that if you had elderly people that wandered, if they ever got lost, you go in
mhm,
the hospital, they could read a chip. I thought it was a great concept, but I'm not aware of the company going very big with it. So then I went from that and I went into working with Tim Hortons. I worked at Tim Hortons for a number of years, and that was a really good experience.
mhm,
Um, it was hard working. Um, you deal with obviously, with a lot of different individuals.
mhm,
And there were some really great times, and there was obviously some not so great times. One time was, to the point of having to go to court because of people, being very nasty and coming into an establishment and thinking that they can do what they want. So that, those things happen, but the overall experience was really good. I was the first one to get a 25-cent raise. I went in and negotiated for a 25-cent raise over the 10 cents everybody got.
oh, nice.
And that's because the job was hard, and you're on your feet, and you deal with a lot of different people in the public. And I just didn't think the money we were getting at that time was equated to the service that we had to give. So I guess that after that, I went into just, I think, basically a stay-at-home mom. I had a daughter and a son, and I didn't work for many years. High school education is the only level, and then one day a neighbor friend had asked if I would be interested in taking some part-time shifts due to the children in school all day at the nursing home behind my home, and I said sure. Then lo and behold, I was working probably, 15 days straight here and there.
Oh.
It wasn't 1 or 2 days a month. It was a
Mhm.
lot. And at that point I made the commitment to work and I didn't want to say no.
Mhm.
And there was minimal workers at the time. So, but it taught me perseverance and it taught me stamina and to appreciate coworkers that worked well with you because we were limited employment in that area.
Mhm.
Um, but that's how I started at the nursing home. 1996 in July, it was when I started.
Wow.
And I started in the laundry department
Mhm.
and having no formal background as far as career experience. It was a great level to get in. I was invested in the union at some point after that, September, I believe. And I was permanent part-time. And then 12 years later, I actually got a full-time in housekeeping. And that's because we have a union
Mhm.
and based on seniority and service that you can accrue hours. And I finally, after 12 years, didn't have anybody in front of me that was
Mhm.
taking jobs. I was finally the person to get the job.
Oh, nice.
So that, 12 years, I got the full-time for benefits and for having no education in a higher education, I was making really good money. I was making the same amount of money at the time as a dietary aide that was money goes. It was a really good um, employment level for the money I was making.
Mhm.
Um, and then I got the benefit package, and that's doing housekeeping. There's people out there today still working full time and don't have a benefit package. So I think for the job I do is which is it entails obviously dealing with your residents and your cleaning and um, maintaining a floor on a nursing home
Mhm.
and but it's great. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Been there 25 years and I have great management. Um, Co-workers, we have a great team. I work on the third floor and I've worked on the locked unit and there's a lot of locked unit. For example, I had a gentleman, an English gentleman, and he always remembered his war days and he'd go around talking about them. And one day he was walking around with a very sore knee,
Mhm.
incredibly sore knee, and he'd be touching it, but he'd be, and I said to him, I believe his name was George, I think. And I just said, what is wrong? What's the matter? I said, you need to sit down. He says, oh, bloody. He says, I need to get to my regiment. He said, they're over the hill. He said, and I don't have my paperwork. And I thought, is this the only way he's going to stop? So I went and I actually got some paper towels and I wrote, because he was English, I wrote, Her Royal Highness, Queen Elizabeth, uh, as of this date, has dispatched your papers to meet your regiment at 1200 hours, whatever it was. And in that second, I gave him that paper, and in that second, it was like a bell went off, and he was like, "Oh bloody hell!" He says, "It's about time," and he went to his room. And
Wow.
it's just, you know, it's just some little, there's many things, but that was one that his family appreciated that too. I told him the story, and I guess when they were at his funeral, they brought up the story. And also the fact that he was a survivor from the shores of Germany. Um,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, did I say that right? Um, but he stormed the shores and he was a survivor, and he was also a special service agent. So he could never tell his family what job he was on or what his detail was.
Mhm.
So it's just, you work with these people every day, and sometimes you don't know them except for them walking in the hallway or in their room or eating their dinner. But sometimes it taught me to really learn about the people I work with and work
Mhm.
for. And there was another lady in a room with one dresser, one bed, and a nightstand. And she was concerned about her laundry. And I said, please don't be concerned. We'll have everything taken care of for you. We'll have it up in your room. And she said, you don't understand. She said, I come from my home. I come from a family. I had a kitchen, I had a living room, a bedroom. She said, and now all I have is this.
Mhm.
All I want is my clothes. And it put that in perspective, that what they're coming in from,
Mhm.
and now what they have to live with.
Yep.
So it really brought the human effect to me. So it didn't matter from that point on what little thing, whether it's a hairbrush or a toothbrush, anything, it matters.
Mhm.
So it taught me a lot more about humanity, and to be kind and to listen,
Mhm.
um, to the residents. And I love them all. I have worked with them all. I treat them like family. They treat me back well. And yeah, I do enjoy where I work.
So the job that you do doesn't require you to have, I mean, you make connections with who you're working with, but it sounds like you go above and beyond what is required of you and what your job entails by making that connection with the residents.
I always have. I mean, I always, it's just part of your, um I think it's part of your makeup,
Mm-hmm.
that you are like that, and you can position it anywhere in that home without empathy, because you're working for these people, and these people need you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to be their advocate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for the most part, say I'll buy them something that they need. I had a new resident that couldn't communicate well, so I bought him a raised board
Mm-hmm.
so that he could write on it. Anything that would, anything that makes the residents happy. So that our team on third floor, we all will try whatever we can to do for that resident and or residents, and each other as a work team. You know, recently I didn't like my shield that I wear, and one of my coworkers brought me in a different shield, and that makes a big difference. They get the sponge gets sweaty, and
Mm-hmm.
so a coworker just hears that little complaint and then thinks, you know what, I got a better alternative.
Mm-hmm.
So in doing so, I recommended it to the assistant administrator because worked better with eyeglass wearers, and so just little team effort things really go a long way.
And
Yeah.
how is it working in this? I mean, this industry is tough, caring for the seniors, and a lot of them are alone and they don't have family that advocate for them, and also some of the family isn't allowed in a lot of the places right now. How is that? Like, how is
Well,
that
the
atmosphere?
only family can come in, but they
Okay,
have to be COVID tested. They
tested, yeah.
have to wear PPE. They have to
Mhm.
sign waivers. There's all kinds of screening at our front door. You just can't get in our building.
Yeah.
And we have not palliative, I'm sorry, compassionate care, where
Mhm.
families will come in and feed their loved ones, but
Oh.
they have a minimum amount of stay.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's residents that don't have someone to care for them. They're just in the home, and whether they didn't have anyone to advocate for them, we become their advocates, and we
Mhm.
become the person that they look to for anything. So for the most part, I believe most of us in the home recognize that if someone's alone, literally alone, you try and make sure that they get hello or rub on the back. You try and make sure that they that their needs are met whenever that, whether they need clothing or whether they need any little thing. Um, those things are paid attention to. Something that maybe a power of attorney would normally um, do all that, purchase that and all that. But that falls back on the caregivers. They have to recognize that where someone needs something. They have to recognize it's a team. You got between
Mhm.
the nursing staff to the physiotherapy staff to the restorative staff, and then all the support staff, which is housekeeping, laundry, whatever. We all make sure that everyone has their needs taken care of on every level.
That's awesome. Is
Hmm.
there any advice you might give someone who's thinking about getting into this line of work, like starting out from scratch? They don't know where they're going, but they think they're thinking about this. What kind of path they should take? And
Well, I would recommend that if they want to get into this particular employment, that if they are looking at short term, just something to pass the time away, we have
Mhm.
we have retirees that like or near retirees that are actually coming and looking for work. It's a great little job to get into, and
Mhm.
like with me, it's become basically my career, even though it's
Mhm.
not a certified employment job. But um, look at me 25 years later working in housekeeping, and I have a full-time job with benefits
Mhm.
and 6 weeks vacation. I've got it pretty good for being in a housekeeping, and
Mhm.
I'm only making slightly different than a PSW and 10 cents less than a dietary aid. And it's great. It's a great job to get into if this is what you want to do.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, it's if you want, we have housekeepers that are actually in school to be to be PSWs,
Mhm.
and laundry aides likewise. They're advancing themselves as they're in the job. So you have opportunity to move beyond,
Mhm.
the jobs without the certificate and take your night school or take your, excuse me, your online classes, whichever gets you to that point. But you can certainly go and advance yourself, take a dietary course, go to dietary. So, and the employer is really good as far as giving time to be able to
Okay.
further yourself education
Mhm.
wise. So they recognize that, and the union as well recognizes that in our contract that there's people that will want to advance themselves to be able to go to another department, a higher
Mhm.
paying job, and so that's all opportunities. Um, the union security. I did do chief stewardship and stewardship. Um, it's a great learning experience. It opens your eyes as to how employment issues can be um, questionable when it comes between management and the employee.
Mhm.
Sometimes you teach the management how the contract works, and sometimes most times you teach the employee their work rights.
Okay.
And it's hard sometimes as a union member, a union rep, people think you're paid for the job and they
Mhm.
think that
Mhm.
you're supposed to do for them. But in all knowledgeable business with unions, it's all volunteer. And
Mhm.
you're actually, when you take it, it's like any job you take it, even if it's volunteer and there's no pay, you get things out of it as much as you put into it. So you learn, you teach yourself, you get the union book, you teach yourself um, to be aware when you are in a situation with management and the employee, if there's any issues, you want to rectify it before it goes to any different level. You just want to rectify it, have nothing on the table. And a lot of times employees don't know their rights. So being that part of a union member worked out really well for me. There was a lot of people that weren't getting proper wage progression,
Mhm.
and they would still be getting their start wages rather than their full wage. So there was quite a few people I helped that way. There was people that I helped so they wouldn't get fired, and it was not good situations, but on compassionate grounds I had argued, and the situation arose that they recognized that, and the person didn't get fired. And and there's other people that got fired because they should have been fired.
Mhm.
But those experiences were really good. It really teaches you that not everybody is as they seem, and they shouldn't do what they do. But then there's other on the other side of it, there's really good compassionate management teams out there that will look at the other option rather than just firing.
Mhm.
I really, I really, I really did enjoy that part of the union issues of it. Um, and then I just stopped. I just stopped because at some point, um, people want you to be their lawyer. They want you to be their voice, and they do not want to do any of the work. So at some point, you become a little bit disgruntled with it, and feel that they should be putting more of an effort. And so then I thought, I'm going to step back and say I've done enough. I've done a lot, and there's other people, they step in my shoes and they continue on with the process. So when you take a job like this, you may end up on. I was on a health and safety committee as well, and
Mhm.
that's another good option to learn and to to know your workplace and know how to be safe and how to keep
Mhm.
the coworkers knowledgeable on their
Mhm.
safety issues. So there's not just housekeeping. There's a whole slew of levels of employment issues, teamwork. It's I know I work in this home and I wouldn't change it for the world. And all my experiences that have come and gone, and the future ones I'm hoping that are just relaxing. And the job has gotten much easier over the years. I have injured myself over the years doing this job. It is injury prone if you do work too fast, and you have to be safe. And so there's times where you have to be very mindful of machinery, of your surroundings. So I've
Mhm.
learned that over the years as well. Having torn rotor cuffs and
Mhm.
um, there's a lot of other stuff that come with it, but that's if you work. And nowadays it's a much safer environment at workplaces with their health and safety programs. We have a
Mhm.
great one, and we do safety talks every month. And uh, years ago when I first started, you're doing a lot of heavy lifting, pushing, and like my supervisor said at the time, back 25 years ago, in laundry you have the big metal carts. You have a lot of heavy wet laundry that you have to push and pull and lift. And he said that years ago, these departments, these companies this was made for men to work in. So there was, as far as ergonomics and all that, there was no thought of that. It was like a man's going to pull this heavy metal cart and a man's going to do that. And so over the years it's evolved so that
Mhm.
it applies to both sexes that can work in this department, because that's how some of my injuries occurred, was because it was a very heavy job.
Mhm.
And but it's lovely now. I have a great supervisor, the administrator. They've all accommodated my injuries. I
Mhm.
yeah I yeah so after all these years, I'm quite happy that if I had another management team, maybe I wouldn't have had such a easier way to work at my age. I'm 57 years old, and I have, some issues with my physical work. But like I said, they've accommodated me, and I'm really, really happy about that.
That's awesome. Well, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Roberta, for sharing your story. And thank you for keeping our seniors safe, because I know you're
Um,
around them and you are protecting them and advocating for them. And I thank you for that as well.
yeah. Well, you know what? We're doing great at our home.
Hmm.
We haven't had a COVID issue since when it first broke in the spring, last spring of 20. There were 3 cases, and it was isolated to one floor, one unit. And fast forward, nothing.
That's
Like from that
awesome.
time on, and we've been COVID free, and we're proud of that. And so, yeah, we're doing our best there to take care of the residents and
Mhm.
our community by practicing safe measures. And um, we hope to continue doing that until this terrible thing is gone. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, well, thank you for joining us today, Roberta. I appreciate your time, and you take care and all the best.
Well, thank you very much, Catherine, and good luck with the rest of your path interviews.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Bye
Yeah.
bye.